Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So many a times you would have heard an economic story that goes something like this. That if every Indian starts donating 1 rupee, just one single rupee, then probably the poverty problem in India can be solved. So let's mathematically analyze this claim by looking at data from 6 different states. So I have the numbers in front of me. So Punjab, for example, has a freebie budget of roughly 25,000 crore. Now, if you combine states like Andhra Pradesh, West Bengal and Madhya Pradesh, the total freebie budget there as per RBI is 67,000 crore. Now, recently Karnataka elections happened and Congress won and they made a series of freebie promises. There, the total cost to the exchequer is estimated to come out to be 50,000 crore. So just 6 states, and if you aggregate the data, the total comes out to be a whopping 142,000 crore divided by the total population of India, which is roughly 140 crores. Every Indian is already paying 1,000 rupee or more than 1,000 rupee, and this is just the situation by analyzing the data from 6 states. Are you seeing the poverty going down? Are you seeing farmers being happy? Are you seeing laborers generating a lot of wealth? The short answer is no. In fact, your direct taxes are going up, indirect taxes are going up, freebie economics is just going out of hand. So let's analyze this topic properly as to how is the freebie economics hurting you a lot and how political parties all across the board are setting a very bad example. Unless we commoners join forces, start taking a look at this issue more seriously, this thing is going to snowball into something really bad for the Indian economy. So to analyze this topic further, I have 2 experts with me today. One is my wife Ayushi, who is an Indian Economic Service Officer and she's from SRCC. She understands economics, so she will help us break down the topic. And second is an international expert. His name is Davide and he is from Argentina. He is an Argentinian journalist who has written for forums like Wall Street Journal. Also a special shout out to our sponsors for today, which is Tax Buddy. Tax Buddy is a wonderful platform for helping you file your taxes, manage your taxes. I am sure that you're aware that the tax filing season is officially underway. With the new versus old tax regime and many other announcements in 2023 budget, I expect the process to get slightly more challenging this year. You probably won't even think of filing your taxes until July, but Tax Buddy has agreed to provide a massive 40% discount to my audiences. But the offer is valid only till 22nd May. So please file your taxes before 22nd May using the link in the description box. So do check out taxbuddy.com because with this entire freebie politics playing out, it's given that our taxes are going to rise. So if you want to optimize your tax saving returns, then do go and speak with experts from Tax Buddy. So let me subdivide the video into 4 specific buckets. First, let me help you understand the aspects around freebie economics. What is the difference between freebies and welfare? That's one. Second key point, that how exactly is it that you and I are paying for these freebies? Third point, why precisely you and I are going to pay more in the future for these freebies? And finally, are there any solutions that you and I as common people can execute? Please like this video. It will reach out to more people. It will spread awareness on this less discussed topic. It can actually help you out indirectly. So let us first and foremost discuss very quickly the overview of freebies. Now there is no fixed definition of what a freebie means, but there is some understanding as to what subsidy means. Politicians intelligently combine both these things and they make us fight about it. For example, AIADMK announced that it is going to give out washing machines and cable connections. Now, if you go and ask them, why do you need to give out cable connections and washing machine? That garib aadmi kapde nahi dhoega, will they not wash clothes and do they not have right to entertainment? If you start framing the questions in this way, then of course you can justify literally everything. For example, during elections, Vasundhara Raje Scindia and Shivraj Singh Chauhan, they announced that they are going to distribute free electricity, tiffin boxes, smartphones. Okay, free electricity, again you can argue about it. Tiffin boxes, I don't get it. Smartphones, okay, again, do people not have right to access data? It can again be framed into that equation. So very quickly, there is no set definition to what either freebie means or subsidy means. But to cut the long story short, freebie or subsidy could be assumed to be a kind of an assistance. For what purpose, measure, it is not defined in the constitution. There is no set definition or end to this game. So this entire complexity divides people into 2 specific camps. On one side, people would say that, you know what, people need assistance on everything. For example, if you don't have a job, it is government's obligation to give people a job. If people are not getting free bus ride, it's government obligation to give them free bus ride. If people are not getting electricity or if electricity prices are high, it is government's responsibility to give free water, free electricity, free this, free that. So there is no end to this. This is an ultra socialist group. For a lack of a better word, I am using the word ultra socialist. Please do not take it in a negative spirit. This is what it means economically speaking. Now on the flip side, there are free market participants. For example, pro-capitalist people would say that, you know what, government's job is just to govern. Government's job is not middling, कि ये free कर दो, वो free कर दो. That is not what their job is. Now, in between these two camps, there sits the government, which has a lot of discretionary power. Now, political parties at the time of election make a lot of freebie announcements. For example, in the recently concluded Karnataka election that Congress won, there were 5 specific subsidy/freebie points that they spoke about. So, I'm flashing this in front of your screen and I will read it out. So, the first promise that they made was called as Greh Jyoti, and here 200 units of free electricity will be given to every household. Similarly, Greh Lakshmi scheme, 2000 rupee monthly expense to women head of household. Then you have another free bus travel scheme. Then you have Yuva Nidhi, that if you are an unemployed graduate, then you will get 3000 rupee monthly. Then there is Anna Bhag, which says that free 10 kilo of rice per person will be given to BPL families. Now see, many of these items might be necessary, might not be necessary. For example, according to me, if a graduate is not able to get a job, do you really think that that person should be subsidized by the government up to the tune of 3000 per month? One could make a pro and con argument to it. My argument would be that okay, they should not be subsidized, but the next person will come, they'll say nahi, subsidy honi chahiye, 3000 rupees do if people are unemployed. Then by that logic, why are you picking graduates only? Start doing it for everyone who is unemployed. Now many people would say that okay, why work only? If we are anyways getting 3000 rupee, then the incentive to work will go down. So there is no correct answer here, but it really boils down to which version of economics you believe in. If you are of the view ki wherever people are unable to generate employment, that if there is some hardship that they go to or if something bad happens to them, then it is always government's responsibility to bail people out. If you are on the other side of the economic spectrum, you would say that, you know what, that this freebie giving is not very healthy. It just generates a lot of negative incentive for people to work and it just makes them lazy. So both these spectrums have their own pros and cons, and you need to decide which version of the story you are choosing to believe in with a rational thought process. Now, if you study the recent election history in India, there were elections in Punjab. Now, Punjab again became a battleground for announcing freebies. The AAP government announced a lot of freebies and it appealed to the voter. Recently in Karnataka, they again adopted that model. Now, this model going forward is likely to continue. So that is the crux of the story that I am trying to tell you. Now, if you are in the pro-socialist camp, there are 2 specific things that you need to think about. One is that to whom giving subsidies is right. You might think कि यार गरीब लोगों को देनी चाहिए, we should give it to poor people. Okay, we can make an argument there. Let's assume that that is right. Now, freebies are also being given, or subsidies are also being given to large corporations. For example, fuel subsidies worth 30,000 crore rupee had been given to companies like HPCL, BPCL, IOC. So all these companies have gotten freebie from the government. So PSUs are getting it. Poor people are getting it. On top of that, there are a lot of loans that are given out to rich people like Vijay Mallya, Nirav Modi. They take it, run away. So even corporates are somewhat, their loans are being subsidized. So to cut the long story short, subsidies are given for a wide range of subjects, wide range of things to a wide range of people at entire discretion of the governments. So with that said, let me bring in Ayushi and she will help you understand on what things subsidies are being given out in India and what is the difference between good subsidies and bad subsidies.
Now that you understand what subsidies really are, let us try and understand which subsidies make economic sense and which do not. Essentially, these can be called as good subsidies and bad subsidies. First, let's have a look at the different areas in which Indian governments have provided subsidies. These are essentially food, fuel and kerosene and on various other social sector schemes. Now let us walk through a few examples to understand what can be called as a good subsidy and what are probably not so good subsidies. For example, if during the pandemic subsidies were given for vaccine research and development, then this could be categorized as good subsidies because it was basically to prevent the loss of human lives. On the other hand, during the election time, if subsidies are given for providing smartphones, refrigerators to people, then these freebies, can they really be categorized as good subsidies? Probably not. Most of the subsidies or benefits that are given usually lie in a grey area. For example, the unemployment benefits that are given to people is quite debatable. It usually lies in a grey area, and whether these kind of benefits should actually be provided to these people or not is a thing that can be debated upon. What are your thoughts on it? Please do comment below. As a fun exercise, just look at this graph. It shows the subsidies as a percentage of total expenditure that has been done by the Indian government over the years. This graph is till 2018 only, and it clearly shows an upward trend. What are your thoughts on this?
So very quickly summarizing some of the important points so far, that subsidies are at pure government discretion. There are no set standard of rules as to who should be given subsidies and how much, and that is kind of creating an economic imbalance. Now, irrespective whether you support subsidies or you don't support subsidies, you need to understand the economics behind subsidies. So you need to ask yourself the question that who foots the subsidy bill? Now, I can give you a very simple answer that it is the taxpayer that is footing the subsidy bill. You would have heard it 100 times, and it does not help you understand the gravity of this topic. So let me outline this topic by narrating the story of Argentina. So Argentina is a country in Latin America where the inflation is almost 100% year on year. So 100% inflation simply means that, for example, if this cup used to cost 100 rupees this year in 2023, by 2024, this cup is going to cost you 200 rupees. By 2025, it will be 400 rupees, so on and so forth. So that is the meaning and gravity of a 100% inflation economy. Now you might be wondering that, okay, why am I telling you about this entire Argentina story? How does this fit into the subsidy story that is playing out in India? Well, you need to understand an economic concept called as fiscal deficit. Now, every country has certain needs. For example, it will be building roads, highways, bunch of other development projects. It might be giving out or doling out subsidies also within it. Now, for all this, a lot of money is required. So every country or every government goes through a series of expenditures. Now, in order to meet it, it has to generate revenues. Now, how does a government generate revenues? For example, majority of the income that Indian government generates, it's through taxes. It's through direct taxes and indirect taxes. Now, that is the situation in almost all the major economies across the world, that the government makes money by charging taxes and it spends money the way it deems fit. Now, back to fiscal deficit, that a country ends up generating fiscal deficit when its expenses are more than its revenues. And it does not take a genius brain to figure out that if you are spending more than you are earning, then it is weakening your economy in a way. And if that situation continues year on year, it can lead to bad effects. That is precisely the problem that happened in Argentina, where people are living on 100% inflation. I pressed David on this particular situation. I asked him point blank that what is the primary reason for Argentina to fall into this abyss, and his answer was that Argentina runs a fiscal deficit, and it has been running a fiscal deficit year on year.
Basically, Argentina's economy is running a very wide deficit, like a fiscal deficit, primary deficit. Basically, it spends more money than it should. And given Argentina has a record of defaults over a year, its credit worthiness is not very much appreciated by international investors. So eventually, at some point, I mean, if you have a deficit, the only way to do it is if you take on debt, right? And if people are not, like investors, are no longer willing to pay for that debt because they consider it's too risky, then you're in a problem. So what did the geniuses of, and I'm using, they're not really, of economic theory in Argentina did? They started resorting to what's called money printing.
Yeah.
Basically, the central bank prints money, and that's the way it funds its deficit. However, when you print way too much money, in the long run, and I'm talking 6 months later or maybe a year later, that money is flowing in the economy and it's immediately raising prices, because it's kind of intuitive, that you got the same quantity of goods, the economy is not growing, and suddenly you got much more money. Like people have lots of money, at least.
So this discussion naturally led me to look up for India's fiscal deficit, and this is what I found, that even we are running fiscal deficit year after year, and going forward at some stage, this situation is going to get out of control. Now, many of you would be naysayers. You would say that no, ऐसा थोड़ी होता है कि India is a very, very strong economy. Yes, India is a strong economy, but you need to understand the strength a little bit more intelligently here. So take a look at two data points, and again, go back and understand the fiscal fiscal deficit equation, that it is revenues minus expenses, and if a government's expenses are going up, then they have to figure out a way to increase their revenue. They cannot forever keep on increasing their fiscal deficit. So how would a government's revenue go up? Well, it will go up if they are increasing taxes. So what is the situation of personal income tax in India? So here is the graph, here is the trend. It should worry you. So you can categorically see that the personal income tax on India has been on a constant rise. You yourself tell me that if you are someone who is doing a job in India, do you think that are you paying higher taxes or lower taxes? Well, according to Ministry of Finance data, it comes out to be 42.74 effective tax rate. That is the highest applicable personal income tax that is levied in India. Now think about this, that if the government pushes this tax rate to 50%, 60%, 70%, will you be happy paying it? The short answer is no, you would be revolting on the roads. So it looks like that the government has reached a point where doing this direct tax vasuli through personal income tax is going to get really tough, because this is a data that you can easily see, absorb and revolt about. So from that perspective, government will not create troubles for itself. So how is it that the government is going to do that vasuli of 50,000 crore rupee, for example in Karnataka? Well, it will reflect in the form of inflation. Very similar to the Argentinian story. That in Argentina, if you take a look at the personal income tax, it has stayed constant at roughly 35% since the year 2004. So they have not increased it. Why? Because if they increase it to like 40%, 45%, people are going to know that, you know what, yeah, bad stuff. So from that perspective, how does it reflect in the economy? It reflects in the economy in the form of higher inflation. So going forward in India, the situation is likely to be similar, that we are going to see that highest effective tax rate to be roughly around 43%. But the inflation in the economy is going to go up. Now, inflation is a number that hits everyone. It hurts the poor person also, it hurts the rich also, it hurts the middle class also. And that is an invisible tax that we are paying for all the freebies that you see the governments distributing. So this brings us to the next question, that how is the situation going to evolve from this point? Is this freebie situation going to get in control? Maybe the governments are going to become more prudent and wise in terms of their spending. Maybe political parties are not going to promise freebies. Is something of that nature going to happen? The short answer is an approximation from my side. The short answer there is no, it is not going to happen, because AAP government has proven with facts that freebie model works. Before AAP also, there were a bunch of regional political parties that somewhat solidified this freebie model. The same model has been applied in Karnataka and it has worked successfully for the Congress government. So in 2024, we have elections, and if you are a sensible political party who would think, you know what, maybe we should not do freebie politics, you would still have to go out and do it in order to win elections. Because the goal of politician, number one, is not welfare of the people, it is to win seats. If you can't win seat, then yeah, in your made up world, you are not doing development for anyone. So irrespective of the political party that we look at, BJP, AAP, Congress, this, that, all are going to do this freebie politics. The expectation from the voters is that we want free stuff, give us free stuff, only then we will come out and vote. So that is the entire way where India is going as of now. So this brings us to the final section of the video, that can anything be done from this point? Well, it depends on what income segment you are at. For example, if you study the recent data of HNIs, which are high net worth individuals, you will categorically see that China, Russia and India are top 3 countries where migration of HNIs, millionaires, have been the most. So this is a very worrying trend for a country like India, that millionaires are leaving India and are going and settling in countries like Dubai, Singapore. Now, what is the reason? Well, there are many reasons, but number one reason is the high effective tax rate. This is the reason why HNIs who can afford to shift their businesses, go abroad, are doing and executing that option. Data tells us. Now you will say कि मुझे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? I'm not a millionaire. How does this impact me? It impacts you a lot. Again, go back to that fiscal deficit thing, that it's revenues minus expenses. Now if millionaires who used to pay crores and crores of taxes in India, they are going out, they are not paying any taxes in India, it's not as if that the expenses of the government are going to be brought down. Expenses of the government still is going to be high. They are not cutting corners there. They are not rolling down the freebies, but the revenues are going down because millionaires are leaving India. So what will happen? Well, the middle class is going to pay more and more taxes. So solution number one is that if you are an HNI, you could consider moving out of India. Is that something that I'm encouraging? No, this is not something that I'm encouraging. This is what millionaires are doing. This is a solution that they have found. I'm just bringing this solution to you. Second key solution is that if you are in the middle class, then your goal becomes to become an HNI, start businesses, because it allows you to optimize for your taxes. Again, if you are in the salary class, optimize for your taxes. Check out Tax Buddy from that perspective. But your goal should be to start businesses or optimize your taxes, because it gives you a lot of opportunities to save taxes at least a little bit. On the flip side, you could consider looking for jobs abroad. Again, I know that we are going to get a lot of heat for making this video, but these are all practical solutions that I am speaking about. Just don't shoot the messenger. Look at the entire situation more practically and rationally. Third key solution, that if you're not an HNI, you are not in a position where you can go work abroad, study abroad, all that stuff, then you fall in that category where you have to fight for your rights. How you can exactly do it? Well, by bringing in the right people, not supporting negative mandates. For example, if some political party comes to you and says, "ये free में दे देंगे, वो free में दे देंगे," you have to ultimately pick up the tab. That is the central message that we want to drive through this video. Please understand that there is no such thing as a free lunch. If a political party is saying कि 50,000 crore, 50,000 crore of freebies we will give you, that 50,000 crore worth of vasuli will be done from you. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. If you did, do press the like button, do share it with your friends, do share it with your WhatsApp group, and I will see you soon.